Hey guys, today I wanted to talk about how we attract the parts of us that exist within us that we don't want to see, we've hidden. Because on the journey of awakening, or even with Kundalini guidance, it means we're going to go through the process of becoming whole again, which means becoming aware of that which we have pushed away, rejected, or abandoned. The times that we've even had to, I guess, change who we are in order to fit in or be accepted and loved. So, when we're talking about facing our shadow, it can mean many different things, but this is specifically in relationship to other, and it doesn't even have to be an actual partnership relationship. It could even be a friendship. It could be a work colleague. We're talking about any. It could be a mother and child, or father, whatever. So we're just talking about relationship in general. What actually happens within this is, if we are talking about somebody that's external from our family, for instance, so let's say a partner, a colleague, a friend, we can actually be drawing the aspect that we need to see to us energetically in many ways. And some, when we find friends and we really love and respect them, we're actually we're drawing the parts of us that we love, and we see are parts that we really, really admire within ourselves. And they're going to be reflected through the friendships that we create. So we actually are attracting the parts of us that exist within us that we would like to be reflected through others, to be shown those parts of ourselves to ourselves. So, I don't know if you've ever heard you are the five people you hang around with. This is interesting because ultimately everybody is you. It's just when you start to be able to, I guess, utilize that as a benefit. So I know, for example, for myself, when I came across a girl who I really, really appreciated in the way that she was so wild and free. She reminds me of like my inner child. And so I had the desire to be around her more because I wanted to embrace that innocence and that wild and free nature that she had within her. Because ultimately I knew that the more I had access to that part of her, or her reflection within my life, then the more I could tap into that inside myself. So when we start to remove the separation between us and the world, and we start to see the world as us, it can do some very, very exciting things. However, let's talk about relationship in the way of attracting shadow aspects of ourselves. So the mind, as I've said previously, is phenomenal as a story making machine. And this isn't an accident. It works to actually assist us in many ways. And one of them is that we get to create what we need to see in order to have the experience that we need to have. So if we are actually attracting someone to us, let's say this time it is a partnership, and we actually have somewhat of a sexual attraction, or some sort of an attraction to this person, that we, perhaps it's really strong and we feel like we can't control it, and it's like, I really, really want this person. Then we can actually see and observe how the mind creates a story and projects it onto the person, and tells you what it is about this person that you're attracted to. And what's interesting is often we don't even ask ourselves. We just feel it. we just know we're attracted. And it might break it down in the way of, oh, I'm really attracted to him physically, or him or her, or I'm really attracted to her personality, or how open she is. But when we are attracting shadow aspects of ourselves, which is extremely common within external relationship with partners, we are actually attracting the parts that we have denied and rejected. So as you can imagine, if we have denied and rejected these parts, what the mind initially does is put a bit of a gloss over it and create somewhat of a glamour. People might say that somebody else has created their own glamour, but is it ever anybody else? When we are experiencing this glamour, what it is actually working to do is allowing us to get into a state that we need to be in connection and union with this person, so that we can actually have the experience we need to identify that shadow aspect of ourself. This is also extremely common when it is depicted through a family member. Because the difference between a family member and a partner is it's a lot harder, seemingly, to just cut yourself off completely from a family member. Now, for some people, this might be really easy, and that's great. But when we have a situation where we are so needing to be connected, as in, for instance, say a child or a parent, it can prove to be a lot more difficult to get rid of this person within our life. What this means is it is constantly going to show us these shadow aspects that exist within ourselves. Now, if it is a parent or a child, it may have something to do with the parts that were rejected by you by that parent, or by your parent, or what you could be doing to your child, in the way of, if we have grown up, and this is extremely common, that we weren't accepted as completely who we were, we have learnt that who we are is unacceptable. And what this does is the part that is unacceptable is still there, but it is extremely aware of being not accepted. As you can imagine, when somebody isn't accepted, they don't feel very well, do they? They don't feel very good about themselves. So that part, even though we may have proven very successful at silencing it or cutting ourselves off from it, it is always going to be reflected through other. Because if we don't listen to it within ourselves, it will be manifested through experience and relationship within our reality for us to see it. So what's important to understand is when you are experiencing these relationships with your shadow through any form of relationship within your life, when we are feeling the feeling that is created from the experience of the relationship with this person, it is that wound, it is that part of ourselves where we trace back the feeling within us, the feeling that we're having, that will ultimately lead us to that shadow aspect of ourself. This is the only way you will ever stop attracting these parts of yourself. This is the only way you will ever not have the experience manifested to you in front of you in your lived experience, is to integrate this shadow aspect by bringing it back into self with love and acceptance. Now, what's interesting is this might be really hard to do through relationship at the beginning, because this person may be triggering the absolute shit out of you. And for you to just stand there and be like, I love you, even though you're treating me like shit, might not be the healthiest thing to do. But what we can do in awareness is allow ourselves to feel and access that which it is that the person's bringing up in us. And then, if it needs to be for our safety, move ourselves away from the experience in order to process the shadow aspect. It is important that we don't just move away and not process the shadow aspect, because then we will just have the same experience manifested again through another relationship or through some experience within our life. Because as long as these shadow aspects exist within us as parts that we have turned away from or rejected, they will always come back to see. They will always try to make themselves known, because it is ultimately wholeness and oneness that is universal law. That is what we are. And every part of that we are not will always be shown to us through relationship with self or other. I hope this helps.